great economic news yesterday. J.D. Vance was at the Breitbart Forum talking a little about it. Give me number 94 here, Paulie.
So a huge jobs report, and I assume the market is going crazy right now, probably just opened, because what this shows is that the Trump economic policies are actually working. And you've got 119,000 new jobs. Economists thought that we would have about 50,000 new jobs, but that's actually just the headline number. If you look below the surface, I think the numbers are actually better. So number one, wages continue to way outpace inflation. If you go back to the 3 years of the Biden administration, the average American worker actually lost about $3,000 of take-home pay. In the first 10 months of the Trump economy, we've increased take-home pay by about $1,200, adjusting for inflation. So that's a huge, huge thing, and this jobs report confirms that. You have the number of manufacturing hours worked in the economy is actually going up. You see the private sector is really driving this economic growth and is driving the job creation. And this is really important, I know, to you, Matt, but really to me. And it's that we are seeing the job growth go to native-born American citizens. And what happened under the Biden administration is, to the extent there was any job growth at all, if you looked at the data, almost all of the net job creation in the United States under the Biden administration went to the foreign-born. Now, of course, some of those people are illegal immigrants to the United States, but that means that a lot of the job creation was actually going to illegal aliens who shouldn't have been in our country. The best thing that you can say about the Trump economy is that American jobs are going to American workers for a change, and that's the thing that I'm proudest about with these numbers.
Our buddy E.J. Antoni, and we were talking about this earlier, the Atlanta Fed, he tweeted, posted on X, not only is GDP currently estimated to have grown 4.2% for Q3, but the gain is primarily driven by big increases in private spending and private investment. Negative in government jobs. E.J. Antoni, our great friend, chief economist at the Heritage Foundation. Some good news here. This seems to be, E.J., exactly what the Treasury Secretary and the president have been saying. Just hang with us, be patient. We're going to turn a corner here. We think a real boom is coming, maybe Q1, Q2 of next year. But is this a sign of an economic turning? Good morning, my friend.
Well, good morning, Chris. Thanks for having me again. And yes, I think we're definitely, finally getting through the hangover, as it were, and starting to feel better. The Biden economy was really just, it was a 4-year bacchanal of economic drinking, if you will, government spending, government hiring, all these things that made the economic data look good on the surface. But then as you start digging into the numbers, as the vice president was just doing, under Biden, you found out that things actually weren't that great. As the vice president said, you had all of this job growth, but it was in government, or it was going to foreign-born workers, not actually native-born Americans getting employed. And today it's exactly the opposite. So sure, some of the headline numbers haven't looked that good, except once you start figuring out why, it's actually a sign of healing. It's that sobering up that I mentioned, where the government is actually not hiring people, but firing people. That makes your jobs numbers look bad, sure. But it's also a sign that the economy is reprivatizing, as the Treasury Secretary says, like you mentioned. That's a good thing for the economy. You're moving assets away from the unproductive public sector and to the productive private sector. That's going to create a net increase in wealth, not a net decrease. So again, even though some of these headline numbers don't look that great initially, you start digging and you get beyond the surface and you realize, wow, things are genuinely improving in this country.
Our friend over at Rasmussen went to visit the White House and I guess gave some sobering data to the team at the White House, the vice president, Susie Wiles, the president, and others. I heard him in an interview yesterday say he basically told them, look, gang, younger people, maybe a lot who voted for you guys, just don't feel like it's getting better. Young people don't feel like it's affordable, and that there is this huge kind of discontent with younger folks who may have voted Trump who don't feel like things are better. You got Zoran Mandami coming to the White House today. He's pitching full-blown socialism. There are people supposedly, EJ, on our side, conservatives, who are suggesting that maybe we should take a look at that because the system isn't working for the regular folks, and Trump is too much about the big business investment class and not enough about the working stiff average Joe, young person who wants to get his first house. So affordability is the word. It's come back full circle. Democrats have been hammering affordability. We know they don't have the solution. You've written a piece called How We Can Overcome Affordability. So if you had the president's ear here, How do they need to message? How do they need to talk about it? I mean, it's not that Trump's policies are wrong here, but is he not really communicating the issue of affordability well, in your view?
Well, I think when we say things like this is the hottest economy in the world, whether that's accurate, whether it's hyperbole, it doesn't matter. It doesn't sound good to the folks who are hurting, right? And that's the reality. Folks are still really hurting. Chris, two things can be true at the same time. You can say on the one hand, we have made significant progress compared to the lows of the Biden economy. And on the other hand, you can say we are still not back yet. In other words, we haven't regained all the lost ground from those 4 years of the Biden administration and the radical left's big government agenda. Those are both true. And we can illustrate that with a few numbers. Let's imagine you have, for example, a family with two adults working, and they both have the average American's weekly earnings. Okay, so their weekly paycheck is the size of the average. That's true for both of them. Under Biden, yes, their paychecks got bigger, but prices rose so much faster. It was as if their annual income went down by about $4,000 or $4,100, maybe $4,200. Okay. Now, under Trump, the exact opposite has happened. Instead of losing ground, they've gained ground. It's up about the equivalent of $1,000 in annual income because those earnings have risen faster than prices. But quick math tells you you're still down about $3,000 over the last 5 years. So that's what people are feeling. That's the frustration that people are voicing today. And if you're a young person, all you have to do is go online and see how much a home cost 4 or 5 years ago and compare that to what it costs today. And you should be angry because you have been priced out of the housing market. Now, the reason for that has been just absolute failures of public policy, whether that's fiscal policy, monetary policy, you name it. Congress has failed you. Biden failed you. The Federal Reserve failed you, et cetera. And yes, President Trump is making good progress on all of these issues, but we're not there yet. And I think it's okay to acknowledge both of those things at the same time. And to answer your question of, okay, how do we get out of this mess? Well, what are the things that have made us successful so far this year? It's increasing energy production to record levels to help get prices down. And we got to double down on that, not just more oil production to decrease prices at the pump, but take all the clean coal power plants out of mothballs. Fast track all the natural gas and nuclear plants so we can get energy production up, get electricity prices down. That's especially important now in the age of AI, where demand is going through the roof. Continue enforcing immigration law. You will continue to have the effect of more Americans getting jobs and fewer illegal aliens having those jobs. Look, America's not just some kind of economic zone. It's a nation. We're here for Americans. We want to make sure not just that we have more jobs, but that we have more Americans with jobs.
Yeah.
Continue cutting taxes, continue cutting regulation. That's the winning formula.
And EJ, on the jobs front, yesterday we had a report that some 400,000 jobs kind of related to manufacturing, if you want to call them blue collar or whatever you want to call them. I don't know how they're described, but there are a lot of unfilled jobs right now, and there are many people that believe that bringing a bunch of manufacturing and other kind of maybe more physical labor-intensive kind of work into the country, I don't know how else to say it, for whatever reason, younger people don't want to do it. And so there's this argument to be made that, okay, you can bring in all these even well-paying jobs to fix things, weld things, plumbers, electricians, and the like, but what if our young people don't want to do it? It's a weird thing, because I hear on one hand young people say, I can't afford anything. And then on another hand, I say, we've got all these trades going unfilled that are paying six-figure salaries that they won't take. So you know what I'm saying, EJ? It doesn't square. Can you help me with it?
Well, sure. I think it's because we've sold young people a bag of goods. We've told them, don't take those blue-collar jobs, go to college, and then get a white-collar job after. And so these folks are saddling themselves with $100,000, $200,000 in debt, getting all kinds of ridiculous degrees that end in the word studies, and then they graduate and they can't get a job. And yeah, they're mad because the system told them to do one thing, and it didn't work out. It was a complete failure. And again, now they're frustrated. They're drowning in debt, and they're working at Starbucks or McDonald's or doing some other kind of entry level work when they could have and probably should have gone to a trade school or learned some kind of a skill working with their hands, be that a welder, be that a plumber, be that a mechanic, carpenter, you name it. any kind of technician. They could have made a very good living for themselves right out of the gate, almost right after high school. And so I think it's not just a matter of people are unwilling to do the job. They've been frankly told not to do those jobs. The other thing is, and this is where getting the illegals out of the country helps solve some of the problem, because we've kept wages artificially low for a lot of that work, it has also disincentivized people from taking those jobs. And so once you allow wages to return to their natural equilibrium, that will produce more of an incentive necessary to get more people to be interested in those jobs. It's not just a matter, Chris, I think, of Americans won't do those jobs. Americans will, but for a certain wage, right? And then one last thing I'll say is it's amazing the kind of doublespeak we're hearing today on immigration, where on the one hand, we're told, well, Americans are too lazy to do these blue collar jobs, but Americans also aren't smart enough to do the white collar jobs. And that's why we need unlimited H-1B visas. So can Americans literally do no work at all? I mean, look at what happened in World War II, where housewives went into factories and with no training at all beforehand, it was all on-the-job training, learned how to make armored cars, learned how to make fighters and bombers and tanks. I mean, Rosie the Riveter was a real thing.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.